Welcome, guys, to the NBA live stream. We got two games to go over, and this is going to be a pretty interesting two-game slate. I'm excited to try to break it down. First game's kind of clear-cut. We know what's going on. It's a game you're most likely going to want more exposure to. But the late game, the big question mark, as I said in my tweet, is the Lakers. There is so many different ways this could go with the Lakers, right? We have two guys questionable. I feel like there's been some rumors of them possibly switching up the starting lineup, the Lakers. Like maybe Drummond and Schroeder get moved from the starting lineup with how bad they've been playing. Maybe a guy like Caruso or Gasol get moved in. Who knows if Anthony Davis or KCP even play. There's just so many different ways you can go. So, I've been struggling with this a little bit because obviously I want more exposure to the first game. I think that's, pretty clear. It's just a game that's going to be played at a way faster pace. But I think leaving a little bit of room for that late game is smart, right? I want a little bit of wiggle room to see what happens with the Lakers. Because again, there's so many different ways this could go. So, all right, let's take a look at what we know so far. Again, the only two pieces of news we're waiting for is AD and KCP. And that changes everything for the Lakers. Also, we'll see what they do with the starting lineup. So, again, Lakers are the big question marks so far on this slate. So, yeah, the two games, it's Nuggets and Blazers. It's a 227.5 over under. The Blazers are 5-point favorites. Again, clearly this game's being played at a much faster pace, whereas the Suns and Lakers only 207.5 over under, with the Lakers being 2-point favorites. All right, guys, so before I get into the player-by-player breakdown, if you're just coming in, what's going on, guys? What's going on, Patrick? Dan, how's it going, man? If you could leave a like button, that'll help me out a ton. And, yeah, I'll jump into it. So, low on Nurkic, 9 fouls. You already know he's going to get two quick fouls right away. The thing is that is so annoying is, I know it's going to happen, but, if he can stay out of foul trouble, he's going to smash. I mean, I went over that in my video. He's just that good of a point per guy, and he's going to play 35 minutes if for some reason he can stay out of foul trouble. But it's almost a lock he will get in foul trouble. All right, so the Nuggets, we'll start off with them. So Nikola Jokic is going to be probably the most popular spend up on the slate. It's just because his high floor plus high ceiling. The matchup's obviously a lot better in this first game than it's the second game. So I think Jokic looks really good. He'll play, 35-ish minutes. A guy that can get you a double-double, can get some assists too, some blocks and steals. So I think Jokic looks really, really good there at the top. Michael Porter Jr. at 6.9K. Just a matter of, which MPJ do we get, right? Is it the MPJ last game and the one that, we saw later on in the regular season where he was really stepping up and being their clear number 2 guy? Or is it what we saw the first 3 or 4 games so far of the series where he was just an afterthought in the offense and kind of stood in the corner and wasn't aggressive at all? So, I don't know, right? He's been pretty bad besides that last game in the playoffs, but he is under 7K, and he should get 35-plus minutes, and this is obviously a good match against Portland, so I don't know. I don't know which MPJ we're going to get, but I do think he does look a little bit too cheap, assuming we get, similar MPJ of the regular season. Now, with a guy like Campozo, I'm not saying he's out of play. In a 2-game slate, if you're trying to take down the big tournament, you got to get different somehow, whether that be leave a little bit of money on the table or take a chance in someone low-owned like a guy like Campozo. Now, obviously, he's not an optimal play. He's above 6K, and the minutes been trending down on him, whereas Monte Morris been really playing well off the bench, been trending up. Austin Rivers is getting good amount of minutes. So, with Campozo, again, nothing more than a contrarian GPP play. Is there a way he could get you there? Yeah, there is. Maybe we get the Rivers foul trouble we saw a couple games ago. Maybe Monte Morris plays really bad off the bench, and Campozo gets 30 to 35 minutes. But even so, he still has to have a really good game in that time. So, all in all, it's really hard for me to make a lot of positive cases here for Campozo. The only real positive I have is he's going to be super low owned, and it's a 2-game slate. Aaron Gordon's kind of my same breakdown I've had all series with him. He's at a fair enough price point. He should play around 30 minutes. He can probably, he'll probably get you 25 to 30 fancy points, which I think is fair on the slate. So, all in all, again, a fine option, but just like a filler play. I'm not going to start my lineup with Aaron Gordon, but if I'm down to my last spot and I have 5.3K remaining, sure, I'll put him in there. Again, I think he's fine. He's fine. Now, with the two Valley guards, I like them once again. I've been pretty high on them this series, Monte Morris and Austin Rivers. There's not a lot of value, on this two-game slate. Monte Morris, I think we get somewhere around 25 to 30 minutes on the bench. He's been playing really well for this team. He's a guy that will handle the ball a lot when he's out there, so he can get some assists. 7, 5, 4, and 5 assists last 4 games. And again, this is the best. The matchup is the best for the Denver side on this two-game slate. So I think Monte Morris is going to be popular, but it is for a good reason. I think he's a really good value play, and then Austin Rivers too. If he can stay out of foul trouble and the game can stay close, I think we get about 35 minutes. That's what we've seen, right? This game 4 games ago, foul trouble. This game blowout. This game stayed close. He played 37 minutes. This game he played 47, but 37 regulation. So all in all, I think Rivers is a fine value. Yeah. And then a couple of GPP plays off the bench I think are in play just because, again, it's a 2-game slate. Millsap will play the backup 5. He'll play probably about 10 to 15 minutes. If by the off chance that Jokic gets in some foul trouble, then you could see a low on Millsap smash. Now, could he still get it done in like 10 to 15? Sure. We've seen, we saw 30 fantasy points from Millsap in 15 minutes. We've seen 21 in 14 minutes. So he's like a solid point per minute guy. He'll be low owned. Again, I'm fine rolling the dice on him. Again, there's ways where he gets you there. He can get you there limited time, or by the off chance again that Jokic gets in some foul trouble, then Millsap could really have a good game. Jermichael Green at 3.3, I think will be somewhat popular here. I think we get around 20 minutes. Not the best point per minute guy, but he's gone for 15, 22, and 19 fantasy points the last 3 games. He does have a somewhat low floor. We've seen it, I think, the first 3 games so far in the series with like 15, 7, and 9 fantasy points. But yeah, all in all, Jermichael Green, he's at a cheap enough price point where it's like, yeah, you probably have to play 1 or 2 of these guys in the 3K range. And Green, I think, is someone you can at least consider. Now, the rest of the Nuggets I'm probably going to stay away from. Like Shaq Harrison might play a little bit. I don't really want to go there. Marcus Howard is at the flat min price. Not out of play, but I think I'd rather play Anthony Simons the other side if I'm going to play a flat min guy in this game. So that's it for Denver. Let's move on to Portland. So Damian Lillard, again, scary fade, must-win game. I mean, that game was just incredible to watch. What he did, absolutely incredible. Now, could he have tired legs here after the double overtime game and just putting the team on his back? I think it's a possibility, right? So... and he's going to be, I would assume, pretty popular after that 90-plus fantasy point game from Dame. So with that being said, there's arguments to fade Dame, for sure. Plus the fact that there's just not a lot of value on the slate. But, yeah, so those are the downsides really. Dame is just that, the double overtime, maybe has somewhat tired legs, and the fact that there's just not a lot of great value and what you have to sacrifice to get him in there. But, yeah, again, as I always say, he's just a scary fade in the playoffs because he's a very clutch player. And, in the fourth quarter, it's Dame time, right? He is going to take over. Literally the offense in the fourth quarter in clutch time, it's just give the ball to Dame and get the hell out of the way because that's just the offense, is give the ball to Dame Lillard. Now, CJ McCollum's at an easier price to get to. He's at 7.6. Obviously, he doesn't possess the upside. I think, he's a safer play on this slate. He's probably not going to kill you. Now, could we see a big CJ game? It's possible. We haven't really seen one from him so far this series. It's there, though, right? He has 50 fantasy point upside. And if Dame does struggle, it's obviously most likely going to be CJ that's going to be picking up the slack. So I think you can make the argument for CJ. I think he's honestly a little bit easier to fit in a lineup than Dame Lillard is. You guys know my take here, right? I'll be playing Yusuf Nurkic. I'm ready for the early foul trouble. So, one more time, I'll make my Nurkic pitch, and that's it, because there's like a 75% chance he gets in foul trouble. So, if he does, you're dead, right? And we've seen it basically every game so far this series, he's gotten in foul trouble. But again, this is my Nurkic case. Okay, so this game 3 games ago, he played 32 minutes, 41 fantasy points. People were thinking, okay, that's not bad, but not great. Well, what happened that game? He had 41 fantasy points in 3 quarters. He came in to start the fourth quarter and picked up his 5th and 6th right away and didn't return. He was on pace for 40 minutes that game. I don't think that's being discussed a lot. Like, he would have played 40 minutes that game, okay? 40 minutes out of Nurkic. Sign me up. Again, do or die. They need him out there. If he is not in foul trouble tonight, I think he could play 40 minutes. I do. Again, he would have played 40 minutes 3 games ago if he didn't foul out. This game, blowout. And this game, again, fouls out. barely plays the second half. He had about 30 fantasy points in the first half. He had 30. He was on pace for 60, and he barely played. So those are the arguments for Nurkic. If he can stay on the court, he is going to smash. And I think people are, kind of box score watching and seeing those minutes and be like, oh, he's playing inconsistent minutes. I don't want to go there. That's just not the case, right? It's just the foul trouble issues. That is it. If he stays on the court tonight without foul trouble, he could smash. And if he plays close to 40 minutes, he'll go for 60-plus fantasy points. So love Nurk. You just got to know that there's a high-risk, high-reward play because I would say you got 75 to 80% chance he gets in foul trouble. And if he does get in foul trouble, you're drawing dead. Again, depends how you want to go it. I know a lot of people are done with him. I get it. That's the only way he fails. If he stays on the court, he's going to smash. So going over the rest of the Blazers. Norman Powell, Robert Covington, fine filler plays. God, he was my last piece in last slate. 51 minutes and 18 fantasy points. But the previous two games, I don't have him, 40 and 32. So the floor is low if he's not hitting his shots. But he can still go for a 35 to 40. Again, though, has to hit his shots to get value, so there's some risk. Robert Covington, I think we get somewhere around 35 minutes. He is fine. He's a fine filler play. Again, the minutes will be there. He's not a super productive guy. Carmelo Anthony at 4-2 is playable too. I think we get around 20 minutes from him, maybe a little bit more if he's shooting the ball well. He is somewhat reliant on the scoring too, but there's just not a lot of value in the slate. And yeah, Melo can get hot. He's a decent shooter, so I'm okay with it. Don't play Cantor. He's barely going to play unless Nurkic gets in some foul trouble. And the last guy I mentioned, I actually think is viable in the larger field stuff is Anthony Simons. I think we had about 15 minutes from him. And yeah, it's not something I want to do with confidence or with a high dollar entry. But I think he's at least somebody you can consider at the flat man. All right, so let's finish up with the Suns and Lakers real quick though, guys. If you're just coming in, if you could leave a like button on the video, it helps me out a ton. We're at almost 60 likes and 240 viewers. Appreciate it, guys. And let's. What's going on here in the chat? Okay, so. All right, so Suns and Lakers. On the Phoenix Suns side, Chris Paul at 6.5K. Just a matter of, again, I sound like a broken record, but how healthy do you think he is? He played 23 minutes, kind of aggravated the injury last game. Previous game, though, when it stayed close, he played 32. If I knew Chris Paul was close to healthy, I would play him all day long. But there's just that injury risk. So, obviously there's risk involved here, but if he plays over 30 minutes, I think Chris Paul looks like a pretty solid player at the mid-range. Booker, I have a hard time prioritizing him. As a star, he had a good game last game, but I would just rather get to the stars in the first game over Booker. DeAndre Ayton's to a price point now where it's doesn't really stand out. He will play the big minutes, and I don't think he's the worst play, but again, hard to prioritize him. I think I like the upside more in Nurk, but he's probably a little bit riskier because of the foul trouble issues. Campaign, if you think that Chris Paul is going to be limited, that you can for sure take a shot on him. He's been playing really well. He's a good offensive player. 39, 35, 28, and 25 fantasy points. So Campaign is for sure in play for GPPs. And then Crowder and Mikal Bridges are fine filler options. I'm probably going to stay away from Bridges. Besides that last game, he has really not been playing well this series. He's a good defender, but that's about it. Crowder had the one big game when I didn't play him. Other than that, he's also been struggling a little bit. But, he should play 30 to 35 minutes in this one. And then I'll mention Cam Johnson at close to the min price. I think we get somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes from him. He's a decent offensive player and, kind of like Simons in play at close to min price. All right, so let's finish it up here with the Lakers. And the Lakers are the biggest question mark so far on the slate. They really are. It's there's so many ways that this can go. We're still waiting on AD and KCP news. And I think they could switch up the starting lineup too. We just don't know what's going to happen here for the Lakers. So, again, a lot of question marks here. Obviously, the safest play here is LeBron James. Did it freeze? Was it good? Let's see. All right, I think it's still going. Cool. Yeah, LeBron is the safest play. We don't know, what Anthony Davis' status is, if he's going to go or not. If Anthony Davis is out, then LeBron James becomes a really good spin up. Do or die game. Like, I would lean towards trying to get him in if Anthony Davis is out. But the hard part about this is we might not get that news until after the first game locks. And obviously, you're going to want more exposure to that first game. So it's really tough. But LeBron is a guy that if Anthony Davis is out, I really, really like him at the top. Now, Anthony Davis himself, if he does play, don't hate it for GPPs. It's just a matter of, again, like Chris Paul, how healthy is he? How many minutes can he play? So a ton of question marks there. But again, for tournaments, he's playable. Like if he plays his normal minutes, if we get like 40 minutes out of Anthony Davis here at 9.4K, he can smash. It's just a matter of, again, how healthy is he? So again, big question mark there. And then you have KCP. KCP, kind of got banged up that last game. He only played 15 minutes. Obviously, it was a blowout. We'll see if he plays here. If he does, I think he's an intriguing value play because I think if he does play, he should play about 30 minutes. Now, he is pretty reliant in the scoring, so that is the risk. But he's a cheap enough price where I'm okay going to KCP. And then the rest is just who knows what the Lakers are going to do, right? Schroeder, been playing awful. Andre Drummond, been playing awful. I think there's an off chance that maybe Caruso or a guy like Marc Gasol could move in the starting lineup. We saw Marc Gasol start the second half. I think that's viable. He only played 10 minutes. He had 5 fouls in 10 minutes. So Gasol could become a viable value play. If Caruso starts, I really like him. He's a decent point per minute guy. Schroeder, if he does end up starting, and if Anthony Davis is out, I don't hate it for tournaments after he shot 0 of 9 because he's going to have to obviously step it up offensively. You have Kyle Kuzma that maybe there's a chance he moves in the starting lineup. So there's just so many question marks. Like Markieff Morris started the last game, but he only played 10 minutes. It's really, we just got to wait to see what the news is and who ends up starting, who ends up playing, because right now it's just so hard to say. It really is. There's also a chance if KCP can't go, that Wes Matthews starts, right? He started, 2 games ago and played 25 minutes. He's a terrible point per minute guy, but he's the flat min price. THT's kind of been out of the rotation, but maybe they try to mix it up and throw him, back in the rotation. There's just so many question marks. So I like the Lakers a lot for tournaments. We don't know what's going to happen here with AD. We don't know what's going to happen with KCP. We don't know what's going to happen to the starting lineup. So all in all, I think it's a big risk right now, but my approach to this slate is, again, I want more exposure to the first game, but I also want to leave myself some wiggle room here because if a guy like or a guy like Talon Horton Tucker starts, I want to play him, right? Or if Gasol starts, I think he becomes a good value. So it's I'm trying to leave myself a little bit of wiggle room for this late game for news. Now, the downside is if Anthony Davis and KCP are both in and they don't change the starting lineup, then the Lakers secondary plays don't look that good. So that is the risk, right? So it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one because of the late game. The late game's a big question mark with the Lakers, and we have no idea what they're going to do. There's so many different ways this could go. All right, guys. So let's get to some questions here. Got about 5 minutes left. Froze a little. Okay. No love for Torrey Craig. I'll pass. Let's see. Dame or Jokic? I think a small lean to Jokic. I think a small lean to Jokic. Let me refresh this. Internet and my new play. I mean, it's been working pretty good for me besides, I guess, today. Faded the last game, a slow game. Yeah, I mean, I definitely want more exposure to the first game. Millsap or Green, last piece in. I mean, Green's probably a little bit safer because he'll play more minutes, but that one's basically a toss-up for me. LeBron James, Campaign, Carmelo, or CJ, MPJ, and Covington. Again, that depends on the health of Anthony Davis, right? So, if Anthony Davis is in, I would prefer the second one, but we're probably not going to get that news. Again, I'm probably away from. I'm probably not going to look to Torrey Craig. Move back to your old apartment. Yeah, exactly. Are you leaving room for LeBron? We'll see. I'm still kind of finalizing things on my end. We will see. JaMychal Green. I would rather have JaMychal. Yeah, I'd rather have JaMychal. Last spot, can't pick. 5.4K. Gordon, Covington, Bridges, or Crowder. So for me, it's probably Gordon or Covington there. I would go to one of the guys in the early game. So I think that game just has a little bit more upside, yeah. Nurkic or Gordon, who will score more? Nurkic, if he stays out of foul trouble, by a mile. Yeah. It's a matter of can he stay out of foul trouble. Green or Melo? Talking about JaMychal Green? I'd rather have Melo than JaMychal Green. Yeah. Payne, Monte Morris, or Rivers? Give me Monte Morris. Well, are we talking point per dollar or just straight up? Straight up, it's probably campaign, because I think he'll play about 25 minutes in this game no matter what. But point per dollar, I'd rather have Monte Morris. CJ or MPJ? I feel like CJ is the much safer option. He's been way more consistent than MPJ. So, yeah, give me CJ there. Dame or Nurk just got here. Well, again, Dame is way safer, obviously, because Nurk's got the foul trouble. Again, though, I love Nurk if he stays out of foul trouble. Just a matter of Kenny. Can you play both Morris and Rivers? I think you can. I think they're both pretty solid value. Cam Johnson, Carmelo, or Green from Denver? Carmelo of those three, yeah. Rocco or Bridges? Yeah, I'll give a small lean to Rocco. Nurk, Covington, or McCollum and Crowder? I mean, the safer one is definitely the second one. Again, I do think the first one is more upside if Nurkic can stay out of foul trouble. That's just the big question on the slate. Can he? Gordon pivot off MPJ. I'm good with Gordon. Again, I think Gordon's a fine filler play. Booker versus LeBron, who will score more? Fantasy points? LeBron, for sure. Yeah. Good to stars and scrubs. KCP will play. Did we just get that news? Let's see. I don't see that yet. Didn't he re-aggravate that injury? KCP active tonight? Okay. Even if just AD is in, not sure I have more any move with the spend up. CJ, Nurk, or... let's see. Lillard and Drummond or CJ and Booker? I guess the second one there because I'm not really confident with Drummond. Still lagging, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, there's not much I can do about it. It's the internet in my new place. Hopefully, it holds up. Let's see. $3.5K utility, already have Millsap. Well, it kind of depends on Lakers news, right? I feel like a guy like Caruso might have to play more in this game. So, I'm eyeing him. I would probably just roll the dice on a guy like Caruso and just hope the minutes are there for him. All right, guys, wrapping it up here. Dame and Melo or MPJ and CJ. MPJ and CJ, yeah. Dame and Bridges or Nurk and CJ. Again, I think actually the second one has more upside if Nurk can stay out of foul trouble. If AD is out, LeBron or Lillard, yeah, that's pretty close. I think it would be LeBron by a little bit. All right, last question here. Then I'm going to call it. Let's see. So MPJ and Payne or Nurkic and Crowder. So MPJ and Payne or Nurkic and Crowder. I'll go the second one there. And Payne or Schroeder. I mean, we'll see what the Lakers do with the starting lineup. I think Payne is actually a little bit safer the way he's been playing lately. So, but if Anthony Davis is out when Schroeder starts, it might be a small lean to Schroeder. All right, guys, that is going to do it. Thanks again for having to come on to check out the stream. Appreciate it. Good luck in this 2-game slate, and I'll be back here tomorrow, so I'll see you guys all then.